A tragedy that India will not forget. 61 innocent lives snuffed out. Over 72 injured. 48 hours since the Amritsar train tragedy, there is zero accountability.
As far as accountability is concerned, nobody is held accountable so far, and that's the thing which is actually that is the reason people are getting more and more agitated. If we talk about the protesters also,
on-tape evidence shows that organizers were responsible for the mishap. Meanwhile, Team Sidhu now attempts a cover-up.
बेवजह की उंगलियां ना उठाएं। मेरी बात समझिए कि एक एक्सीडेंट है, किसी ने जाके उसको जानबूझ के डेलिब्रेट मैकेनिज्म से नहीं किया।
I had another 2 events to do, so it was hardly 10 minutes I was there on the stage. I finished, I didn't even want to speak because it was already, I felt I'm late for the next event.
While blame games over deaths continue, family members of the victims continue their fight for justice. As politics attempts to hijack the real issue, Mirror now asks, who is to be blamed for the tragedy that claimed innocent lives? Let's debate.
Punjab Minister Navjot Singh Sidhu believes he is being targeted unfairly. However, Mirror now has accessed the letter that the organisers wrote to the DCP seeking permission for the event. The letter clearly states that Navjot Singh Sidhu and his wife would both be chief guests at the event and the turnout was expected to be in lakhs. So in a way, in a sense, permission was sought in the name of Navjot Sidhu and Navjot Kaur. So how is it that the couple decides to shirk off all responsibility? Remember, permission was given and it was sought, as this letter shows, in the name of Navjot Singh Sidhu and his wife. An FIR has been registered against protesters who attacked the police at the Joda Phatak today. A case of attempted murder has also been registered against protesters for pelting stones at the policemen. One person has been arrested, 6 others have been detained. So Santhya Gora is right there in Amritsar for us. She's been tracking all the developments. Santhya, you're right there in the middle of all the action. We've just updated our viewers with the big developments that we have just received information about. One, of course, that letter from the organizers, the letter asking for permission. In that letter, the permission has actually been sought in the name of the chief guest, Navjot Kaur, and her husband, Navjot Singh Sidhu. So clearly, this entire event was organized. People were asked to come in because these two individuals, these two netas would be there. So can they really shirk off responsibility? Tell us more about what that letter states of the organizing committee.
Absolutely, Afrida. The way the permission was sought was always questionable. It was always questioned by the people. In fact, right now we are being joined by the Police Commissioner of Amritsar, Mr. S.S. Srivastav. So thanks a lot for speaking to us. My first question to you will be, as far as the permission is concerned, the one thing is it was not even sought under the name of the organizer. It was sought under the name of the chief guest, also Navjot Singh Kaur, Navjot Singh Sidhu and his wife. And Mrs. Sidhu was present also. She was present there. So when such a VIP permission is sought, are there certain points which police looks at because the crowd gathering will be more?
See, the permissions and all are not specific to something. It is for the event. Now, the VIPs go around different venues. They hop. That is the normal practice. Not only in Amritsar, across the country that's the practice. So the permissions sought are normally for the events and we make it as per the events. As mentioned to you earlier that not one, almost 20 odd permissions were sought and they were given over the time.
And also, sir, you also told us that how the on-spot inspection was also done, like the procedure says, it was followed. But the question is, sir, that a crowd of almost 5,000 people was expected to gather here, which happened also, and the spot is very close to the railway tracks. In that case, the point was absolutely missed. It's clearly seen that it was missed. So, are you also planning to conduct some inquiry against the officer also who granted the permission?
See, the inquiry encompasses everything. The magisterial inquiry has both the aspects. One aspect is that what are the lapses, who are the people responsible, and the other aspect is recommendation that it doesn't happen in future. So the magisterial inquiry is going to go into all these things, and we will tie up with them, and we'll also verify all the things.
And also, sir, today, unfortunately, when the stone pelting happened, one of the cop also got injured. I believe that you have taken an FIR in the case, sir?
Yes, obviously, we have done that. We are taking legal action because there are some people, some mischief makers who are trying to take some mileage out of it, and we don't want that anybody should vitiate the environment of this city by doing such things. An unfortunate tragedy happened. We have been working day and out. In fact, I must mention that the first responders and the team which worked, the police team, really did a good job. You can ask the people if you don't believe me. But they really did a great job. They were the first responders. I also reached the spot. My officers reached the spot. The local people helped us. The medical teams were immediately pressed into service. So all the activities happened, and once the stabilization happens, see, what has happened we can't undo. But we are now going to, and whatever whatever actions or whatever inquiries are required, they will be done, and we'll take it all to the logical end.
So apart from Joda Fatak, was there any unpleasant incident recorded anywhere else in the city, sir?
No other incident. Everything else went off quite well and smooth.
And sir, what about the deployment? If you can give us a rough figure, how many cops are deployed here? How many cops are deployed across the city, sir?
See, across the city at the sensitive areas, the total deployment would be something to the tune of 2,500 or plus.
Thanks a lot for speaking to us, sir. So this was the Police Commissioner of Amritsar City, Afrida, Mr. S. Srivastav, and he has spoken about the fact that how there is deployment across the city, specifically as far as the sensitive areas are concerned. And he also answered your question as well as far as the permission, seeking permission in the name of VIP is concerned. He said that the police focuses on the event and not on the VIP names. And as of now, the deployment is not just at Joda Fatak, but across the city, Afrida.
Right, but he did not, of course, answer questions on why an FIR has not been filed by the Punjab police against the organizers. People are angry over that, and therefore those protests have happened. Santya, stay on with us. Let's now, of course, tell our viewers here that this is really a tragedy of immense proportions. Remember, 61 lives were lost. There are 70 others grievously injured. Some of them may be crippled for life. Families have been shattered. Infants have been orphaned. But 48 hours on, what do we have? We have no arrests. We have no accountability. The main organizer is absconding, and as always, there is passing the buck. Inquiry initiated, compensation announced. Yes, an FIR has been filed against unknown persons. So are we done and dusted? Will 61 just be another statistic? Will we just move on with our lives? Because after all, no one is responsible, at least as of now. So where is the question of action? I have joining me on the broadcast AP Savaria, spokesperson of the BJP, Adil Singh Boparai, spokesperson of the Congress, Badshah Sen, senior journalist, V.K. Agnihotri, former member of the Railway Board, and Ketan Guradia, who is also a railway expert. I welcome all of you to this weekend edition of Urban Debate. Thanks for joining us here. Well, the big question, like I said, that, so far what we have seen is simply a shifting of the blame. Inquiries have been initiated. We just heard from the police commissioner that there is a magisterial level inquiry that is going to go. But now, to you, Mr. AP Savaria, and also to you, Mr. Adil Singh Boparai. In fact, Mr. Boparai should answer this question since your government is in power in Punjab. Why is it that you do not have an FIR against the organizers till now? Aren't they responsible? Holding an event 20 meters away from the railway track, isn't that a recipe for disaster?
Well, Afrida, let me set the record straight here. First and foremost, an FIR has been registered under Section 304A of the IPC. Let's be very clear about it. An FIR means the commencement of an investigation. During the course of the investigation, whoever is held responsible will be added as an accused person and ultimately a charge sheet is filed. This is how the criminal legal process operates. This is point number one. Point number two, as far as the magisterial inquiry is concerned, the scope of the inquiry is extremely broad. It will cover all facets, including any lapses which may have taken place, as well as the role of the railway in averting this tragedy. This is point number two. Point number three, at this moment, our entire focus is to mitigate the sufferings of the victims. We have no intention of playing politics. Please be very clear about it. Accountability will be fixed. A time-bound magisterial inquiry has been ordered and an FIR has been registered. Point number four, the district administration swung into action. The state government has announced that free medical aid will be given, government as well as private hospitals, as well as an ex gratia compensation. Lastly, I think you need to ask the central government as well. After all, there were railway linesmen present, there was a gatekeeper present, there is the option of an emergency brake system within the train, there is a station house master. What were they doing? We swung into action, and I don't intend to politicize this, but what about the railway minister? The MOS Railways, in a short span of 12 hours, pats his back and say the railways is not responsible and summarily rejects an inquiry, rejects even an inquiry. So therefore, I think even the railways must order an inquiry, because the linesman saw the people at that spot. There is somebody known as a gatekeeper. He could have informed the station house master. The driver of the vehicle could see the people. Why did he not apply brakes?
We will try and
understand. There is a provision of emergency brake system.
The procedure.
Mr. Modi talks about bullet trains.
Yes.
Are you trying to say that there is no emergency brake system?
Yes, we will understand the procedure, but I would allow Mr. Savaria to respond first. That can the railways really wash its hands off? I mean, after all, a train has mowed down 61 people. There are so many people who are deployed, along the stretches. There is a gatekeeper. How is it that, the railway can simply give a clean sheet to all those officials and not take any responsibility, sir?
Romanaji, first of all, for a repetition, I must say, this is absolutely an avoidable tragedy. But as the event is unfolding for the last 48 hours, now I can authoritatively say this is a man-made tragedy. It's a man-made tragedy. I got the spokesman of a Congress government is there. I was hearing him. He has got cheeks to blame, irrespective of. He's not owning the problem. Now see, I must tell you, when this function was organized, permission, I heard it, the permission was given into the name of the two VIPs, that Navjot Sidhu and Dr. Mrs. Sidhu. They are very popular in that area, and this is his assembly. Ask him to speak now. Don't speak. Listen to me. You are killer of the people. That you have killed more than 5 dozen people in that, and you have made an FIR against the name of an unknown. It is a shame. At that time when the accident took place, a man-made accident, when LED was placed onto the railway track and the minister wife was there.
No, I asked you a specific question, sir. I said, why wouldn't railways take some responsibility? Because this is like saying it doesn't come under our jurisdiction. Our trains have to run. If there are people on the tracks, they must have taken permission for it. The train has certain systems in place. That is why they are called emergency systems. Why would the railways completely shirk off responsibility? It is unheard of that an accident of this magnitude happens on the railway track, and the railways believe that they can completely shift the responsibility to other authorities. Let me bring in actually Mr. V.K. Agnihotri, who is a former member of the railway board, to understand how the systems work. Mr. Agnihotri, can you explain to us? If you see a situation like this, there is a gatekeeper. We understand he is several meters away, hundreds of meters away. And there is the train driver who is, of course, alerted, should have been alerted about this. In an ideal situation, what should have happened to avert an accident of this nature?
No, gateman who was there in the gate, which is known as Joda Phatak, his jurisdiction stops at 200 meters from his gate.
Okay.
He is not supposed to have any responsibility beyond that, because the responsibility is written to him. And when we work in railways, every week, every month, we check him for those responsibilities, and they remember it by heart. So if anything is happening at the gate, he has to protect the approaching of the train to that gate.
Okay.
Because he is responsible for the gate. He is not responsible for anything else. Because he is a very small fry in the railways, and he has been given responsibility to see that there is no obstruction in the gate when the gate is closed and the train is coming. So that responsibility he fulfills.
Okay.
As far as driver is concerned, what I understand from the various news channels so far, that this place was on a curve.
Yes.
That driver approached this place on a curve. So he couldn't have seen the people standing there much before. But driver says, as per a written statement given by him, that he applied brakes.
Yes.
And when the train was about to stop,
Please allow me to
people
respond
started
if
pelting
you-
stones. So he continued the train. That is what he says.
Right. Right.
And he has given in written a statement in that. So question is that every person who works in railways has a specific responsibility.
Okay.
And if he fulfills that responsibility, people cannot assign a responsibility to him which is not assigned to him otherwise.
Okay, so I get your point. The gatekeeper or the driver of the
driver
train,
did his responsibility.
given
Can
I just make
the
an
immediate
interjection, please?
circumstances, cannot be held responsible. Let me bring in
Afrida,
Mr.
can I make
Ketan
an
Goradia.
interjection?
No, let me just go to all my guests first, and then I'll come back to you. Mr. Ketan Goradia, again, the fact is that this is an event held at this around this area every year. That is what we hear from our reporters on the ground. Shouldn't there be a policy in place for the railways as well, not to have people in such numbers milling around the railway tracks? Why didn't the railways take note of this? Because there must have been preparations days ahead for a big neta to come. There must have been a stage put up. How is it possible that the railways never noticed anything happening around there?
Well, I differ with the gentleman from the railway. I'll just read out a section from the railway manual. It's rule number 2.05, prevention of trespass, damage or loss. In this it is written, every railway servant shall endeavour to prevent A. Trespass on railway premises, B. Theft, damage or loss of railway property, C. Injury to himself or others, D. Fire in railway premises. Going further, 2.1, it says duty of security of securing safety. Every railway servant shall A. see that every exertion is made for ensuring safety of the public. Now, I don't know this 200-meter limitation where it comes from. It's not there in the railway manual. I have gone through it totally today, and I have noted down all the sections which are there in this manual which are in contravention of what the railway people have been saying. Having said that, I say that the primary responsibility is of course of the organizers.
Yes.
And the organizers didn't do their job.
Absolutely. So here we have a situation where every single authority is saying, well, it is not our jurisdiction.
What the railway could have done.
Yes, please go ahead.
No, what the railways could have done is under section, under rule 4.09, they could have issued a caution order. When they know that such a big gathering is taking place,
yes,
they could have issued a caution order which would have put a speed restriction on that section.
Right. Right. We will come to the point about the speed restriction. But again, like I was saying, when a situation of this, a tragedy of this proportion will always happen if every single authority in that particular area believes that it is not under their jurisdiction to ensure safety for the citizens, and there is this shifting of blame. But I want to ask you, Mr. Savaria, again, because it is not fair at this point, and like we heard from Mr. Goradia as well, for railways to give a clean sheet immediately without even having an inquiry. Why is it that your government is not at least pressing for a primary inquiry by the railways? Because there has to be systems put in place, and we just heard from Mr. Goradia, there is a railway manual, and there has been violations of that, of the provisions there.
There are 7.
Ravanaji, first of all, I must make it clear that first the
counted.
railway, whether the railway has been informed, no information to the railway was given. Our railway minister Manoj Sinha ji has made it very, very clear the railway was absolutely unaware. And you rightly said that this function has been taking for many, many decades in that much area. But unfortunately, this year what I presume as the VVIP was Dr. Mrs. Sidhu and Navjot Sidhu's wife, their popularity is well known in the area. And the number of the people who attended this Dasara was multiple proportion of the previous year, because I could hear the announcement doing onto the ground or onto the dais that in the presence of the Honorable Minister's wife, that there are 5,000 people standing on the railway track and 5 trains have crossed. Madam, they are so eager to meet you or to hear you in that case. So that was equalizing a person who is a VVIP. More and more people went into that. If the things were like that, the railway ministry should have been informed. Our driver has applied the emergency brake, as the expert has said in that case. And the person who is the Joda Gate responsibility, that boy, he is to look up that area only. And
I got your point. You've said that before. In fact, I'll go to Mr. Boparai, but before that, let me bring in Mr. Badshah Sen, a senior journalist joining us, because the point about sycophancy just came up, that when it is about a big neta, there is a huge crowd, and what happens? I mean, in this country, we've seen it happening all the time. The rules are flouted. There are no lessons learned. People take liberties. Do you think, Mr. Sen, that this is just another case of that happening, where you get carried away with the presence of a big neta and all rules are given a go by?
Well, you see, I think that this function has been going on for the previous 20 years. At the present moment, it was the chief guests were the Sidhus. I'm reasonably certain in the past there have been chief guests like the Sidhus from this party or the other. So the fact remains is, why has this function been going on for 20 years in an area which is near a railway track?
Yes.
Where the police should prevent it, where the railways should have a act. I mean, I'll just ask you a simple question, and that is, would you allow 5,000 people to gather outside Shivaji Airport in Bombay or Indira Gandhi Airport in Delhi, if you have 5,000 people roaming around the runways or next to the runways, there would be hell to pay. The point remains is, people take the railways for granted.
He doesn't have any right to ask
the middle of a
question
city
now.
And last year, I have figures which show that in Bombay city alone, 1,651 people died just crossing the railway lines. Why are they allowed to cross the railway lines? There are over bridges. The point is, why were they allowed to go across that wall and hang around on the railway lines? The railways have a responsibility to ensure that large numbers of people do not gather around railway lines. After all, there could be sabotage at any point of time.
Absolutely.
We don't seem to worry about that. Then also the police. The police has to act, and this is a place which should be a protected area.
No, I think you're getting my name wrong. This is Afrida. I think Mr. Savaria has got my name wrong. If my producer can please correct him. Okay, I just want to ask, okay, we've got enough points against the issue of how the railway should be held responsible, but I want to come back to Mr. Boparai of the Congress party, because, you know, the Punjab government, Captain Amrinder Singh has issued a statement today where he talks about socially profiling the people, and he will decide on the compensation. That is where his focus is. Where is the focus on finding out or on pinning down responsibility on those who are responsible? Because the railway authorities say they were not informed, permission was indeed given. Doesn't the Punjab police have a responsibility when there is such a big turnout to control the crowds? Where is your crowd management? So why isn't the Punjab government and the Congress government in Punjab not taking responsibility for these things?
Yes.
Well, Afrida, there is a reason why the Chief Minister has ordered a magisterial inquiry, and that magisterial inquiry will inquire and ascertain all facts. And in the event of a lapse, rest assured, stringent action will be taken. Please understand this. Nobody is running away. Point number 2, please understand this has been going on for a decade. The Dussehra celebration has happened at that venue for a decade, and the organization committee comprises of people from across political parties. It's not alone. It's not the Congress alone. There are people from the Akali Dal, there are people from the BJP, and there is the local resident committee. So therefore, singularly put the blame on the Congress may not be correct. But this is not the
about
moment
Congress.
for politicization.
It's your government in the state. It's your local administration. It's your police. It's nothing to do with the party in question. It's very much to do with the government. The state government happens to be run by your party, and therefore we are asking this question. We have nothing against the Congress. I mean, let's be real about it. Your government has failed to secure the lives of these people.
Are we running away? Please tell me.
No, I mean, you're just telling me about your magisterial inquiry. That is not enough. You're only telling me about compensation. That is not enough. Why would you allow such things to happen? And year on year this is happening. Somewhere somebody has to take note, and your government has failed to take note.
How do you fix culpability?
Of how dangerously close this is. 61 lives have been lost. There is a price to pay for sycophancy.
Please allow me to respond to this.
Yes, please respond.
This is indeed a tragic incident. Nobody is denying this. And culpability. Can you please ask this gentleman to keep quiet? Two people can't speak at the same time.
Mr. Savaria, please allow Mr. Adil Singh to finish his point.
No, you ask gentlemen. What do you mean by gentlemen? You people are asking questions.
No, you just allow me to conduct this debate in a decent manner. Let's not, talk over each other, because we have to hear each other's out.
You'll have to mute his volume. We can't have a debate like this.
Mr. Adil Singh, please continue, and then let me go to the other panelists as well. Finish your point, please.
Oh, yes, we also can't have it.
Afrida, in this country, you fix culpability based on an inquiry and an investigation. Nobody is running away from an inquiry and an investigation. We're not like the BJP.
Me the organizers are not responsible?
We've ordered a time-bound inquiry. But please do not overlook the fact. Am I saying that they're not responsible? The inquiry will discern that. And if they are responsible, then stringent action will be taken. Already section 304A of the IPC has been added. There is an FIR. The police is investigating this case. A charge sheet will be filed. But please understand here, so much is being said about Mr. Navjot Kaur Sidhu by the BJP. Tomorrow you invite me as a guest to your studio, and God forbid something happens. Can the culpability be fixed on me as a guest?
No, that is not the reason why. I'm sorry, you've misinterpreted this. We have a document, sir. We have a letter. I'm sorry, I'll have to correct you here, because you are putting the blame on us for, putting for holding Mr. Sidhu responsible for the wrong reasons.
No, I'm not putting the blame on you. I'm saying there is an inquiry committee which is looking into all these facets,
because his name was cited in the letter that sought permission. So it's something like a name-dropping thing, that the moment you take the name of such a big leader, permissions just come flowing in, right?
Afrida.
That is the reason why we are asking Mr. Sidhu that weren't you also responsible enough to think about the fact that you're going to this event so close to the railway track? Yes, so please do not misinterpret why we are questioning Mr. Sidhu. The reason is we have a document that suggests something. Please keep to that point. Yes.
Afrida, just for your information, that the police has given clearance for this venue for the past 10 years. And it wasn't because of Mr. Navjot Kaur Sidhu in the previous decade. It is because the Resident Welfare Committee and the local people, they have organized it for several years. The clearance or the permission by the police is nothing to do by on account of Mr. Navjot Kaur Sidhu being present. Had Mr. Navjot Kaur Sidhu not been present, even then permission would have been given, because that's why it's been happening there for a decade. But let me tell you, nobody is shirking responsibility here.
I would have expected as a citizen that you should think about the safety of the citizens first. When Madam Navjot Kaur Sidhu landed over there, the first thing that it should have occurred to her mind is, why are we having this event so close to the railway track? Why are we having this event so close to the railway track? Shouldn't a leader of her level and a leader of Navjot Sidhu's level understand basic safety precaution? We cannot absolve the Sidhus of taking responsibility. I'm sorry. They cannot be absolved.
That
They
is
have
why
been
there is a
elected by the
magisterial
people. They
inquiry
should
which has
think
been
about
ordered.
safety
And it's been
of the
going on
people
for a
first.
decade. It's not
So
happened
please
that
do
it's
not
happened all
try
of
to
a
give them
sudden.
a clean
But
sheet
we are
and say
looking
they
into
should
this.
not be questioned.
Culpability
They will be
fixed.
questioned. They will be questioned. The
Afrida,
Sidhus
is the
will
train
be
driven in
questioned.
an autopilot mode? I ask you this question.
All right.
Is the train driven in an autopilot mode? Does the computer drive the train? There is a human being sitting behind the train. There is a gatekeeper. There is a linesman. There is a
now you are
the
going
railway
to
protection
another
force.
issue. Yes, we
We're not
will
running away
raise
from an
those
inquiry.
issues.
But
We
how
will
can the
raise those
BJP
issues.
absolve itself of any responsibility?
We are not absolving
Please ask
the
BJP
railways
as well.
either. We are
what
not
about the railway
absolving the
minister?
railways.
He's still holidaying in America.
All we are saying is that your government has given permission for an event in the
There is a
invite.
reason why there is a driver,
in the
there is a
letter it
gate
says
man,
we are expecting
there is a
lakhs of
railway
people.
manual.
Lakhs
We are
of
looking
people.
into it.
When
We
you are
will fix
expecting lakhs of
culpability.
people, what are the security measures you are supposed to take? What is the very basic preparation that you are supposed to do in terms of crowd management?
Where do you get lakhs
Did the
of people
Punjab
from,
government do
Afrida?
that? No, it's in
Where
the
do you get
letter.
lakhs of
We can
people
show
from?
that to you.
Where do you
in
get
fact,
this
just give
figure
us,
of lakhs of
just
people,
give me
can
a
I ask
minute.
you?
I'll request my team.
Where do you get this figure
I
of
will
lakhs
request
of people,
I
madam?
have the letter. I have the letter which is coming from the organizing committee. We just, in fact, broke
Does
the
it
news
say
in the
lakhs of
beginning.
people?
Yes, it says we are
Does it
expecting
say lakhs of people?
It says that. I read it myself before coming to the show. It says that. Please don't think I'm misquoting anything. I
Please
read
read
that
that.
letter.
Please read that
I'm
now.
going to get. I'm
It
going to
can't
play
be-
it
it
on the
can't be
screen
lakhs of
right now.
people.
Give me a
But
minute.
notwithstanding
I'll
that,
play
we
it.
will
I'll put it
fix
up on the screen
responsibility.
for your benefit. I'll
We
put
will
it up
fix
on the screen.
responsibility.
There's a reason why we are
It's in
asking
Punjabi.
these
Do you-
questions, sir. It's not for
It's in
nothing.
Punjabi. Can you read Punjabi? I can
No,
read Punjabi. That's
there
why
are
I'm
people
saying.
in my office who can read Punjabi.
Afrida, I can read
and-
Punjabi. That's why I'm saying.
Okay, so just give me a minute. Let's now focus
I'm
on the
glad
other
to know
issues
that
as
we
well.
will fix accountability. Nobody is shirking away from accountability.
Okay, talking about the issue of the organizers
What about
now,
the
I
railways?
want to go across to the gentleman who was a former member of the railway board, Mr. V.K. Agnihotri. Earlier you were saying that, insofar as the responsibility of the railway officials are concerned, they did their job and there was nothing that they could have done to avert it. But we know for a fact that the railways do have a larger responsibility of, ensuring safety when it comes to emergency situations. We are not talking about an ideal situation or a normal day. But on a day like this, when a big festival is happening and something is happening around the railway track, isn't there anything that the railways should have taken note of to prevent this kind of a disaster? I'm asking you this question again because you were part of the railway board and you are aware of the policies.
No, the thing is that railway land is not open to public for loitering or for mela. Railway land is not mela land. So there is no authority for anybody to hold mela on railway land. And as has been said earlier also by some panelists, that railway is responsible to see that people don't come to the railway track. That responsibility is actually discharged by the government railway police, because railway has no policing authority. They cannot actually handle any public man and remove him from the site. That job is done by railway.
But do you agree with the drivers?
Government railway police.
Yes, but when the driver says that, well, I applied the brakes and there were people who could have attacked the train and attacked the passenger. Do you think that was the right decision to be taken? Because this has costed us 61 lives. Should he have, gone past the track, once he realized that there are people around, or should he have stopped nevertheless?
No, whatever speed he maintained will be recorded in his train, because there is a recorder there.
Yes.
And it can be checked at what speed he was coming and what is at the brake he applied and what speed it became and when he had to continue. Because if people are pelting stones, even police was not able to actually handle the stones. So what a poor driver can do for stones, he can also be hit by stones. And people traveling in the train will also be hit. So there was no possibility of handling actually crowd. Crowd handling is something which Supreme Court also is unable to find out, how to handle crowd.
Mr. Ketan Goradia, do you agree with that? That handling the crowds who are milling around the railway track does not come immediately under the railway authorities' jurisdiction, and there is little they can do about it. Because in this particular case, the effigy burning was happening, and in the entire razzmatazz of the event, people just moved back and they a lot of them came into the railway track, just by default, not expecting a train to come by, of course. Do you agree with Mr. Agnihotri that there was nothing beyond that that the driver could have done in that instance?
No. I do not believe that. The section was a straight section. He has not applied the brake. The train passed within 4.2 seconds. I did a stopwatch thing. It passed within 4.2 seconds. Now, each bogie of a ICF coach is 23 meters.
Okay.
That means almost 100 meters in 4 seconds. That is almost a speed of 90 plus kilometers an hour. Now, if that man is saying that he has applied brake, he is lying. He has not applied brake. The train is not shown slowing down. Okay, and the section was absolutely straight. There are enough channels who have covered that section, and you can see in their reports, in their clips, that the section is absolutely straight. That means that he had visibility of over 500 meters, and if he had visibility of over 500 meters, his stopping distance is not more than 350 meters. He is lying through his street.
So this is something very important that you're saying here on the show. That means there is culpability of the driver. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I just said. That this means that there is culpability of the driver. There was an undue haste in giving the driver a clean sheet. There was an undue haste on the part of the railways in giving a clean sheet to all of this, and now we've just heard how it actually works, because a lot of people may not know these technicalities. The other thing that is being pointed out, Mr. Goradia, is that the train did not have its headlight working. That is what Mr. Navjot Sidhu is telling us now. That the reason why this happened is because the train did not have a headlight working.
You see the clip, the headlight is on.
Right. Right.
No. The headlight was on. It is seen in the clip that the headlight was on. You can check the clip again.
Yes. Okay.
See the lies. Afrida ji.
Yes.
See the lies they are telling now. Now look, my friend
manager gave a statement.
Spokesman.
Yes, Mr. Savaria, go ahead, and then I'll go to the next panelist. Yes, Mr. Savaria, complete your point, please.
Yes. Now, Afrida ji, now see the lies spoken by Mrs. Sidhu now. The expert says the lights was on. She says light was. I am asking my spokesman friend from Congress. He has spent 10 minutes of the whole debate instead of owning the responsibility. He is asking questions. I am asking a question to him that who the organizer? Organizer was the son of a local councillor who is a Congress councillor, and he has given, the government has given time to flee. There is a clear TV shot scene that a person in white kurta pajama is coming, running completely confused. Look here, a case once registered on 304, even a breeze falls somewhere, the action or the superintendent engineer who made that breeze straightway is booked up here. But here, unfortunately, because he belongs to ruling party and the councillor is involved, his ministers are involved, nothing has been.
So basically,
case has been registered.
There is a lot of misleading going around here, and you have people coming out in their own defense, misquoting and misleading people. In fact, from what we just heard, the headlight was on. We can of course see those pictures, but let's hear what Mr. Navjot Sidhu said in his defense.
Yes.
Let's play that out.
एक तो ये ट्रेन 100 पे चल रही थी, कुछ लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि उसकी ऊपर की टॉप लाइट नहीं थी. When the top light is not there, you can't get it out of the yard.
So the top light was not there. That is Mr. Sidhu's defense. I'm afraid I don't have Adil Singh Boparai, but Badshah Sen, this is what we have in the name of an explanation from Mr. Sidhu. Mr. Sen.
Yeah, well, you see, therefore, it's clearly from what our panelists have been saying, clearly the railways, some investigation has to happen about the doings of the railways, whether it is the driver who saw people 500 yards ahead and didn't apply the brakes, God knows why. That means he's a murderer, which I doubt. So it must have been a human error. Whatever it is, the driver did not apply his brakes. The headlight was or wasn't not on. the expert just told us that the headlights were on. You can replay the footage. You'll probably find, one way or the other whether the headlights were on or not. So clearly the railways need to investigate this. Come to the next. I do believe that the organizers, who, as it happens, was a local councillor from the Congress party.
Yes.
Even that needs to be investigated, that how did they have such a huge function in such a dangerous place. Thirdly comes the police. Why did they give the local police? Why did they give permission for large numbers of people to gather near a railway track? I mean, we've had various reasons why people should not gather near a railway track. One of them is that people will run helter-skelter and get run over. The other could well be malfeasance. There could be large numbers of people trying to uproot the railway tracks. In these bad times when we've had terrorism going on all over the place, why are so many people allowed? So the police need to be looked at, the local police, the councillor who organized the function, perhaps even Mr. Sidhu, who lent his name to this function, as also the railways. How come the railways have been left out of this inquiry? I know the state government cannot inquire into the railways, but the railways must have
Right, that
an
is
inquiry
something which
into
is not happening because the
entire
railway made a
incident
statement
to
saying we
pin
are
the
not
blame
going to
on
have
their
any inquiry.
employees.
None of our officials are directly responsible. I have a caller, Subramaniam from Mumbai. Yes, good evening, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, madam. My point is, why didn't the train driver blare his horn? The horn is so loud it could be heard at least for 2 kilometers.
I believe in the statement of the driver, he says that he did, of course, press the horn, and the noise of the event was so loud that people didn't hear it. But we, of course, cannot ascertain all of these facts immediately. I want to just take closing comments from all my panelists now, because coming to you, Mr. V.K. Agnihotri, the lessons must be learned now. How do we prevent a situation like this from happening again? Festivals will continue to happen. People get carried away. Netas, flout every rule in the book when it comes to getting people over or addressing a crowd like this. Police turn a blind eye as well when it comes to a big politician. How do we avoid situations like this? What are the lessons that we must learn?
No, we have to inculcate discipline in people, because I belong to an era when the English people were ruling India, and at that point of time a barbed wire was put across railway track and nobody entered railway track. And even at one point of time, Chinese people came to my office when I was in board, and I asked them, how do you are running 350 km per hour train? They said, we put barbed wire across the railway line. And I said, anybody can cut barbed wire by a pliers. He says, if he cut barbed wire, I cut his throat. So that is the kind of punishment Chinese people give, because railway land is a sacrosanct land and nobody should enter there.
Yes, Mr. Ketan Goradia, do you think that there should be more stringent rules and punishment as well? Because people flout these rules with impunity. There's absolutely no warning or notification for people not to go close to a railway track, from what we understand.
Agreed, but then the first thing that needs to be tackled is not too many permissions given for religious functions. Now every gully, every mohalla wants to put up a religious function, and the police is stressed. The police can't do anything, and there has to be a limit on the people that can attend a function. Let's say if a ground is 500 square feet, then only 100 people should be allowed. There has to be a ratio, let's say 5 square feet to a person or something, so that a stampede doesn't take place, so that such overcrowding doesn't take place. There has to be a limit on the number of people that can attend such a function in that particular place. Now those SOPs have to be written down. In India, unfortunately, such SOPs are not written down, which will clearly state that, okay, how many people will be there in the function, how will the exit control be there, how will the entry control will be there, how in case of emergency are you going to take care of the fire or anything else that happens on the ground. We are having no proper rules, and unfortunately what happens is when people die like this, a similar incident happened in Kerala, and more than 100 people died. So after that also nothing happened. It was not
will
connecting
lessons
to
be
the
learned,
railways,
Mr.
but yes, it
Savaria?
was a
Will
stampede.
lessons be learned?
So
will your
if you-
government put some systems in place to make sure that when it comes to festivals and we understand their sentiments involved, owing to which a lot of times rules are flouted, permissions are given, will your government at the centre do something about putting certain systems in place for safety of the citizen?
Afrida ji, my request to the present government into the Punjab is that FIR which is made in the name of unknown people, the councillor and his son should be booked into that one. And Navjot, Dr. Mrs. Navjot Sidhu should be abiding this crime, and Navjot Sidhu should immediately on moral ground, not hitting the media people and not brisking them off. He should resign faster than fast to take the moral responsibility, that one.
Right. Mr. Ketan Goradia, last word to you. Please go ahead.
Well, I feel that a big expense should be put on the organizers, that every time you need a permission, at least 50,000 rupees or something which would cover the government cost on such, and then only we can reduce such events. Now, you can't have events taking place in every gully, every mohalla, and then, across the whole city, and the police not able to control it.
Right. So, yes, like you said, this was definitely a situation where police pleads helplessness, where the railways say we are not responsible. So, ultimately, 61 people are dead and no one is responsible. As of now, all you have is an FIR against unknown persons. That's all you have. And of course, inquiry is initiated. But as citizens, we need answers. We need accountability. I would like to first thank all my guests for joining us this evening and for sharing your views with us. But like I said, we need accountability. But at the same time, I would also like to remind my viewers that as citizens, we should take some responsibility to follow safety precautions. Milling around the railway track to begin with is a dangerous proposition. Let's not forget that. No matter how big the neta or the film star is, let's not fall into these traps and forget basic safety measures. Having a Dussehra event barely 200 meters away from a railway track is indeed a recipe for disaster, and now we know that something like this can happen. There should be more safety measures in place, but at the same time, as responsible citizens, we have to fend for ourselves. There is no other way. As we can see, no one takes responsibility. Thanks for watching.